guys, what is up? Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic Christmas so far. Happy Christmas Eve. Christmas is tomorrow. I'm really excited for the best holiday of the year. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Even for people who are in lockdown, hopefully you guys are having the best Christmas as possible. Hopefully you guys are having a great Christmas. Now, I decided, since 2021 is coming to an end, I decided to do something a bit different. I noticed that I watched a lot of movies in 2021, but there are some movies that I have watched, but I never get a chance to review those movies. So I decided to just talk about some light movie reviews all in one video. Movies that I have seen, but I haven't got a chance to review them. I want to do that as a tradition on my channel. Every single end of the year, I will talk about movies that I haven't got a chance to review on my channel yet. I've seen a lot of movies in 2021, and I don't have too much time to review every single movie that I've seen, so I decided, let's do it quickly in one video. I'm going to give, basically a quick, positive, negative review, and give it a grade, and just move on to the next film, because there's a lot of films to go through. So, let's talk about some late movies that I haven't got a chance to review on my channel, either because I'm busy, or I just couldn't be bothered at the time. So, this is the perfect video to talk about some late movie reviews. So, I want to start off with Thunder Force. This movie is a superhero comedy film that's directed by Ben Falcone and stars Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer. In a world where supervillains are commonplace, two childhood best friends reunite after one devises a treatment that gives them powers to protect their city. Now, I wasn't that excited for this film. This film came out on Netflix, I think in March, I'm guessing. I wasn't excited for this film because Ben Falcone is directing the film, and every single project that he does with his wife Melissa McCarthy hasn't been great. From Tammy, from Life is a Party, he really isn't a good filmmaker. So obviously I have very low hopes for this movie, and this movie just turns out exactly what I expected it to be. This is definitely one of the worst, probably not just the worst comedy of the year, but I would say it's one of the worst superhero films of the year. I really don't buy Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer's relationship in the film. I think they're really good actors. Like Melissa McCarthy, she is a funny actress. She's just not been in a good place lately. And Octavia Spencer is a great actress. I loved her in a lot of movies she's in. I think they're good actresses, but the chemistry in this film was very, very flat. I thought the concept of this movie is very interesting for a comedy film. It's rarely made, actually, superhero comedies. Like, it's mostly just Marvel and DC films. We haven't got, like, a standalone superhero film that isn't based on anything. So I appreciate that Ben Falcone is doing that concept, but at the same time, a point of a comedy, you're supposed to make the movie funny, and this movie, the jokes, it really lays flat. I really don't buy any of the jokes in this film. I would say even the visual effects in this movie look really, really terrible in the film. There is a moment where Jason Bateman is in this film, and he has crab arms. I'm not even kidding, that actually happened in this film. The comedy of this movie wasn't that great in the film. I would say the best part about the movie is the cast, because, you know, Octavia Spencer, Melissa McCarthy, and the rest of the cast of the movie, they're great actors. They're just mistaken in this really terrible, dull superhero film that has some of the worst comedies of the year. The script was even terrible, like I wasn't buying the script, and this movie was just so boring overall because the movie doesn't get me that excited what happens because the comedy and the dialogue in the story was very, very flat. I am going to give Thunder Force a D-. My next review is going to be The Tomorrow War, which is a new science fiction action film that stars Chris Pratt. A family man is drafted to fight in a future war where the fate of humanity relies on his ability to confront the past. Now, when I saw the trailer of The Tomorrow War, I was actually very interested in this film. I love Chris Pratt, I think he is a great actor, and I think the concept alone in this movie was probably the best part about this movie. I like the concept that the people go through portals through the present to tell people to help fight aliens in the future. I thought that's a really cool concept. I think Chris Pratt was really great in this movie. He definitely saved this movie for me. His acting was great. He's good in serious roles too. He's not just a comedian, he is good in serious roles as well. And I think this film definitely provided that for him. I think he does a really great job in the film. And I would say most of the visual effects actually look really good in the film, and the action in this film was also just a lot of fun. It's one of those movies that it's just an entertaining, popcorn fun film. It has some good action scenes. It's one of those movies that you can just probably watch one time when you're bored and you want to just watch a simple, fun, science fiction action film. You'll enjoy this film. But that's one of my biggest issues with the film, is that this film could have been so much more. Because the concept of the Tomorrow War is honestly really, really interesting, and I honestly buy the concept more than its execution, because the execution, it just made this film just a generic science fiction action film, and I really wish the concept of the film could have been developed much more better in my opinion. There are some really dumb decisions in this film as well where I just yell out, why the hell did this person does that? There are moments in the film where Chris Pratt does something in the film and I'm like, why? Why would he freaking do that in this film? And I said most of the visual effects are great, but the aliens in the film, I'll say the way to introduce the aliens is really well done. It felt like a horror film and I really like that. And the design of the aliens look really, really creepy and cool. But the more times you see the aliens, the more noticeable the CGI will get. Overall, guys, The Tomorrow War is a pretty okay action science fiction film, but it's a film that I felt like the concept was much more better than its execution. I'm going to give The Tomorrow War a C. Okay, my next review is going to be The Boss Baby Family Business, which is a sequel to the terrible 2017's The Boss Baby, and this film stars, as well, Alec Baldwin with James Marsden. The Templeton brothers have become adults and drifted away from each other, but a new boss baby with cuted edge approach is about to bring them together again and inspire a new family business. Like I said before, I really wasn't a fan of the first Boss Baby. I thought that movie is probably one of the worst DreamWorks films that I've ever seen. The movie was ridiculous, it was silly. Alec Baldwin was definitely the best part about that movie, but the movie really turns flat. So I obviously wasn't excited to see the Boss Baby Family Business. I watched this with a friend, expecting to hate this movie, and I gotta say, this movie honestly really surprised me. I think it's much better than the first one, because this film is ridiculous. It still has the same issues that I have with the first Boss Baby, but this film for some reason makes it much more fun and just enjoyable because of how ridiculous dumb this film is. It really goes overboard with that, where it turns into an animated guilty pleasure movie. I think Alec Baldwin, shame for what happened to him. I really feel bad about the gun incident, but I think this might be his last active film because I don't know if he's still gonna act. I think he does a really good job in the film. Even James Marsden as the adult Tim, hopefully I said the kid's name right, I think their chemistry in this film is definitely the strong point of this film. And also the chemistry between Tim and his daughter was also a big surprise for me. I really loved their chemistry in this film. But the animation is really good in this film also. It looks very, very colorful. It's a simple animation. It's nothing spectacular or anything. But this movie is still the most ridiculous anime film I've seen all year. There are parts in this movie where the film just goes so ridiculous that I was killing myself laughing. Actually, the jokes actually work in this movie in my opinion. Me and my friend, we were not expecting to laugh this much in this film. We were laughing so hard with the Boss Baby Family Business because the jokes in the film are so dumb and ridiculous that we just couldn't help ourselves. So, at least the Boss Baby Family Business is enjoyable enough. I think it's definitely better than the first one. It has more heart. It has better comedy. It is still the same ridiculousness that the first movie has, but the movie just makes it much more fun. It's really hard to explain why this movie is better than the first one because this movie just goes way more ridiculous that I should have hated it. But for some reason, it goes way too ridiculous that I actually was killing myself laughing. I am going to give The Boss Baby Family Business a B-. The next movie I'm going to review is Don't Breathe 2. This is a sequel to the 2016's Don't Breathe movie. This is a new house invasion horror film that once again stars Stephen Lang as the blind man. The blind man has been hiding out for years in an isolated cabin and has taken in and raised a young girl who lost her parents in a house fire. The quiet existence is shattered when a group of kidnappers show up to take the girl, forcing the blind man to leave his safe haven to rescue her. Now, to me, I wasn't that pumped for Don't Breathe 2. I thought it's a very unnecessary sequel. I thought the first movie basically felt like a good standalone suspenseful horror film where there is basically no antagonist. They both are bad for what they did in the film. The guys who break in and the blind man, they all have their differences. This film, I honestly don't know why Don't Breathe 2 is making a sequel. It looks like they're just doing it for more money because for some reason they made the blind man, played by Stephen Young, an antagonist in the film, which he really wasn't supposed to be. And it's weird how they portrayed that in this film. I think Stephen Lang does still a great job in this film as the blind man. And I would say this film is much more action-packed than the first Don't Breathe, and the action was really fun in the film. It's a fine house invasion film for what it is. It's not as good as the first one, but it still has some entertainment value. I just think the dumbest thing in the movie is that they made the blind man the good guy in this film. I really didn't like that concept. I thought the little girl was fine in the film, but I just felt like that plot alone just felt like, okay, it's definitely different than the first one, and it really does not work for me. I think those moments in the film really ruined the story and the necessary of the film, but it's still entertaining if you want to see like a simple house invasion horror film that has some gore. It's very, very gory and suspenseful. just as a suspenseful film in general. I think Don't Breathe 2 will be for you. It's definitely not as good as the first one, but it still had some entertaining value. I am going to give Don't Breathe 2 a C. My next review is going to be another Netflix film with fun force, and that film is Sweet Girl. This movie is an action thriller film that stars Jason Momoa and Isabella Merced. A husband vows to bring justice to people responsible for his wife's death while protecting the only family member he has left, his daughter. Now, I was interested in this film when I first saw the trailer. I think the casting was really great. I love Jason Momoa. I love Isabella Merced. I thought she's a very underrated actress. And for the positives, I think they are the best part about Sweet Girl. Jason Momoa is really, really great in this film as this father that does whatever he can to protect his daughter while also getting revenge on his wife from these people that killed her. I thought it's a really simple concept and it plays safe with his character. But Isabella Merced, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated actresses probably in this century. I think she is really, really good in this film. She definitely stood out of the cast in this film. She does a really great job in the film. The action was filmed very well. It wasn't entertaining though. I thought this movie, in my personal opinion, is very, very dull. I think the story of this film is something we've seen many times before. I think when it gets to the third act, which obviously I'm not going to spoil, it changes the whole film around and it makes you think, wait, how does this make any sense? The action was fine, but I think the whole problem with this film is that this film was just very, very dull and it took a concept that is way too safe than it actually is. And the third act made me very, very confused. This is a movie that I would say I probably would have skipped. I'm going to give Sweet Girl a D+. Now, let's get some animated films into the mix. One of those animated films that I have seen is Vivo. This is a new film from Sony Pictures Animation that came on Netflix and stars Lin-Manuel Miranda. Already exciting, and also this is the first musical that Sony Pictures Animation has also done. Basically, this movie is about a monkey named Vivo who basically goes out on a journey to find his owner's former partner to reveal his song to her. Now, I was very interested in this film because I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. I think he is one of the most talented music artists and playwrights probably ever. Hamilton, fantastic, and he's busy this year basically. He did In the Heights this year, which I loved. Vivo, in my opinion, is probably one of the most underrated animated films of the year. I really enjoyed this movie. The animation of Vivo is absolutely colorful and beautiful. I love the look of this movie. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda does a really good performance as Vivo. You really love his character, and especially his chemistry with his owner was really, really heartwarming in this film. And another chemistry with this little girl that he goes along with on this adventure. It is so freaking sweet in this film. The music also is really fantastic in this film. I love the musical sequences in the film. It is so entertaining. It makes me want to step my feet throughout the entire film. The music is really, really underrated in this film. And I just love the heart and soul that this movie presented. Obviously, this movie is hilarious. There are some really funny parts in this film, but there are also some really good heart in this film. And even the end, I was literally almost in tears. It was so sweet the way the ending was presented. Vivo is a fun anime film for kids that has some great music, has some heart, has some tragedy as well, but Vivo keeps it safe and makes it a really fun musical adventure that Sony Pictures Animation should do more of. I am going to give Vivo an A-. Another animated film I'm going to review is Wrong's Gone Wrong. This is a new film from 20th Century Studios and a new animation company, Locksmith Animation. Hopefully I said the animation right. This movie stars Zach Galifianakis and Jack Dylan Grazer. This movie tells the story of Barney, an awkward middle schooler, and Wrong, his new walking, talking, digitally connected device. Wrong's malfunction, set against the backdrop of a social media age, launched him on a journey to learn about true friendship. Now, like Vivo, I would say Wrong's Gone Wrong also really surprised me. I wasn't expecting to love this film as much as I did, because I literally saw the trailers of this film and I'm like, this movie looks like a piece of shit. But honestly, when I watched this movie, this film was a very sweet and lighthearted film about friendship. I think the chemistry between Wrong and Barney in the film really stands out for me. It cracks me up, it makes me heartwarming, it makes me tear up at a couple of scenes. It is a cliched story overall about a boy and his robot, but this film does play it safe and make it its own thing. Even the animation, I actually like what Locksmith does with this animation. It is very creative, especially with Ron's malfunctions. They use a lot of cool animated techniques with it. It looks really, really cool in this film. I love that this movie tells a great message about friendship and showing Barney teaching Ron how to be human, how to be a friend. And I think that's really, really cool in this film. I love that way this film was presented. Some people could compare this movie to Big Hero 6, and I can really see why. I can see why they're comparing this movie to Big Hero 6 because it's about a boy and his robot, just without the superhero aspects. I think Ron's Gone Wrong has a great message about friendship. I would say probably my biggest issue with the film is where this film is going with the third act. There are like 2 third acts in this film that could have just been 1 third act. But overall, guys, Ron's Gone Wrong is a really cute boy and his robot story about making friends and what it's like to be a friend. And I think the animation is really great. I can't wait to see what Locksmith Animation does next because I really love Ron's Gone Wrong. It's basically a Blue Sky Studios like replacement, basically. I'm going to give Ron's Gone Wrong also an A-. The next film I'm going to talk about is Netflix's new film, The Unforgivable. This movie stars Sandra Bullock, Don Bernthal, Viola Davis, and Vincent D'Onofrio. Released from prison after serving a sentence for a violent crime, Ruth Slater, played by Sandra Bullock, re-enters a society that refuses to forgive her past. Facing served judgment from the place she once called home, her only hope for redemption is finding her estranged younger sister she was forced to left behind. And literally, I watched this film in theaters. I watched the screen for this film. I was bored that day and I felt like seeing a movie. I think this film has a great cast and I saw the plot of the film. I haven't seen any trailers for this film and I thought the plot is very interesting enough. I think the best part about this movie is the cast. I think Sandra Bullock especially is really good in this film. She definitely has that sympathy in the film. You really get her character throughout the film. She's basically a broken character and Sandra Bullock plays that character very, very well. The rest of the cast, like Don Bernthal, like he is everywhere this year. He's in so many films this year, and he is good in this film. I think his chemistry with Sandra Bullock was really great in the film. Vincent D'Onofrio also does a really great job in the film. Viola Davis especially. There's one moment in this film where I'm like, okay, she is fantastic in this film. Viola Davis is a great actress, and even the girl that plays the younger sister of Sandra Bullock's character, she was fine. Her acting was really, really good in the film. But I would say probably one of my biggest issues with The Unforgivable is that this movie really doesn't know where it's going. And it is honestly probably one of the most boring movies that I've seen all year. Like the first 20 minutes of the film, I literally wanted to leave because it felt like this film is going nowhere. I think the look of this movie looks nice. It looks very dry the way the film should look. But the problem is the story of the film. It really doesn't know where to go because it goes through the plot where Sandra Bullock is looking for her sister and also just goes through a plot where she's trying to change her life and then back to that and back and back and back. It really doesn't know what it wants to be and it makes this film just so boring and it feels like nothing happens. In the final climax of the film, it didn't feel like a final climax because it felt like it came out of nowhere. The Unforgivable is definitely one of the most boring movies of the year with good performances, but this film goes completely nowhere in my opinion, and I'm going to give The Unforgivable a D. The next review is going to be the biggest film that came out on Netflix, and that film is Red Notice. This film stars Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot, and basically this movie is about an agent and a con thief basically go after the world's biggest art thief played by Gal Gadot. Now, this is easy for me to say about this film. I think this film is enjoyable. It has some fun moments. I think the chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds is really, really good in the film. They're definitely the best part about this film. Gal Gadot is also really fantastic in this film. She is so sexy in this film, but also she's very charming, and she plays a really good villain in this film. I think all 3 of them have a very good chemistry in the film. The action was really well done. The action's filmed very well, but it's kind of like what the Tomorrow War did. It's a concept that's very, very good, but it just plays it too safe. This film could have been so much better than it actually is. It's not a film that's a masterpiece or anything. It's a film that's just a simple entertainment film that you can literally just watch at home and just enjoy for what it is. The best part, the cast. I love Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. I think they're really, really good in the film. The cinematography looks good, and the action gets very ridiculous at times. But I would say probably my biggest issue with the film is that there are times where the story doesn't know where it's going. The third act definitely changes the whole film entirely, and I felt like that really doesn't match the tone of this film. Red Notice, though, it's a safe action comedy that has some funny moments, has some cool action, and the chemistry between the actors is definitely the best part about this movie. I am going to give Red Notice a C+. Alright, 3 more movie reviews to go. Short movie reviews, I know, but there are so many movies to go through. 3 more to go, here we go. My next review is going to be Clifford the Big Red Dog. This is a new live-action CGI animated adventure that basically tells the story of Emily Elizabeth. She basically doesn't fit in her school until she finds a red puppy, and obviously she adopts him, and she wishes that, you know, her life is great until we find out the dog transformed into a big red dog, and she calls him Clifford, and of course they go on an adventure while the people are trying to go after Clifford. It's a very simple, like, safe film, basically, and I was not expecting to enjoy this film as much as I did. I actually did enjoy Clifford the Big Red Dog. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but I was really expecting this film to be like the next Alvin and the Chipmunks, or the next Smurfs. It's not a great movie by any means, it's a safe family film. I think kids will love this film. I think the biggest heart positive of this film is the chemistry between Emily Elizabeth and Clifford. It is such a cute chemistry in the film. I love them two together. You just love Clifford, even though there's a flaw with that, which I'll talk about later. Clifford is so adorable in this film, and I'm a dog guy myself. Clifford looks really, really adorable in this film. I think there are some jokes that really work in this film. There are some jokes that I wasn't expecting in this film as well that's good for adults as well. I would say the adventure aspect is definitely the best part about this film. It's definitely a film that I would have loved as a kid, absolutely for sure. But this movie is also a very cliched safe family film about, you know, the big red dog, people want to experiment on him, the bad guys, one of them is played by Tony Hale, which I find very annoying in the film, wants to do stuff to him. It's a safe plot, to say the least. And I would say the CGI on Clifford at times look very, very dated. Like, in my personal opinion, it looks pretty bad at parts in the film. Even though Clifford is adorable in the film, the CGI definitely needs a lot of work. But this is a very simple review. Clifford the Big Red Dog, I'm surprised this movie didn't suck, because I expect this film to suck. I really enjoyed Clifford the Big Red Dog, but I would have watched it again, definitely not. But it's a film that I'm surprised it was okay. It was fine for kids and family, and that's why I'm going to give Clifford the Big Red Dog a B-. Okay, my next review is going to be Resident Evil Welcome to Reccon City. This film is a reboot to the Resident Evil franchise, thank God for that. And this movie took from the director of 47 Meters Down and 47 Meters Down Uncaged. Not going for a good start, isn't it? Set in 1998, this origin story explores the secrets of the mysterious Spencer Mansion and an ill-fated Reccon City, and it's up to these people to try and save the city. Now, I'll give this a compliment, okay? This is probably my biggest positive with this film, is that this film definitely improves on the shitty Paul W. S. Anderson Resident Evil movies. I really wasn't a fan of those movies at all, especially the final chapter. This movie is definitely trying to stick into the video game genre, and there are some really cool Easter eggs in this film, and I would say the CGI was actually really good in this film. There are some pretty cool CGI and the designs in the film, and the actors were just fine for what they're given. But this movie, honestly, overall, is a very forgettable action film that really just felt too safe. I think Resident Evil fans will probably like this movie more than the Paul W. S. Anderson film. It definitely follows the video game very, very well. But in my personal opinion, it's just a film that I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Like, for example, I dropped my sister off at work, and I wanted to waste some time. And that's why I watched this movie, just to waste some time. And I would say this movie is just one of those movies. It's like, if you just want to, you know, get a bit of time, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you just want to, like, pass the time, just check out Resident Evil Welcome to Reccon City, you know, definitely pass the time. It's not a movie that's anything special. It's just a cliched, fine action film that has some cool scenes, some cool Easter eggs. It's definitely an improvement on the Resident Evil, you know, Paul W. S. Anderson movies. But overall, I really find this movie just okay. I'm going to give Resident Evil Welcome to Reccon City a C-. Okay guys, my last late mover review, we're going to save the best to last, because this movie I wanted to watch for a while because I heard great things about this movie. My last review is going to go to Tick, Tick, Boom. This is a new musical film that's directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. This is his directorial debut, and this movie stars Andrew Garfield, Alexandra Shipp, and Vanessa Hudgens. And this movie is based on a true story. This movie tells the story of Jonathan Larson. It's a story of an inspiring composer in New York City who is worried he made the wrong career choice whilst navigating the pressures of love and friendship. This movie is based on Jonathan Larson, who have composed Tick, Tick, Boom and Rent, which I have not seen Rent. I heard great things about Rent. So this is coming from a guy that doesn't know anything about Jonathan Larson. And I gotta say, guys, for a director debut by Lin-Manuel Miranda, this is a fantastic start for him, because this movie is another great musical that came out this year. Andrew Garfield in this film is probably my favorite aspect of this film is Jonathan Larson. I thought he's a perfect casting choice. He is so fantastic in this film. I love his charisma in the film, and his performance felt so real in this film. Even some musical sequences, I never seen a musical moment that he sings. I never seen it felt so real in the film. He is so fantastic in this film. His relationship with Alexander Shipp in the film was really well done in this film. I love the whole musical aspect of this film. It is so inspiring, and that's this film. It's very, very inspiring about a guy that really wants to make a difference. He wants to write music for a musical, but things don't go the way he plans, and the movie really does a great job progressing it. And I love the narration of the film where you see him performing his life story, and I thought that's very, very creative. The music is so catchy in this film that I literally was tapping my feet. Lin-Manuel Miranda directed this movie really, really well. Love the look of this film, the style of this film. This is what I call another great musical that has great heart. This film makes me very emotional, especially one of the songs in the movie that felt so freaking real. This is a great tribute to Jonathan Larson, who did pass away before seeing Rent, which is really, really sad if you think about it. And I would say Andrew Garfield does one of his best performances that I've ever seen. And Lin-Manuel Miranda directed this movie really freaking well. I really love Tick, Tick, Boom, guys. This is another great musical that came out this year, and I'm going to give Tick, Tick, Boom an A-. So guys, these are the films that I have seen, but I haven't got a chance to review on my channel. I know they're quick, but there's so many movies I want to go through, and obviously if I go through them long, this video will probably be like 5 hours long, so I have to give as quick reviews as possible. What do you think of these movies that I've reviewed? Do you like most of them? Do you hate most of them? Let me know in the comments below, and I will still do my No Way Home spoiler review. That's coming up very, very soon. And obviously review the last movie of 2021, which is Matrix Resurrections. I will check that movie out this Sunday, and then give my end of year list. This is so exciting. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel for my latest movie reviews and movie related content. And make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Facebook, Stardust, Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd. Keep contact with me, and have a nice day, and have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.